between now until we go home. Oh, 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 say what you're dying to say. No, oh, oh, tonight we're stars, but we'll fade away. Oh, go on, light me up. Oh, go on, light me up while we're golden. Come on, light me up. Oh, come on, light me up before we come down. Stars will always come down. So before we come down, 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 stars will always come down. Go on, light me up. Oh, go on, light me up while we're golden. Come on, light me up. Oh, come on, light me up before we come down. Go on, light me up. Oh, go on, light me up while we're golden. Come on, light me up. Oh, come on, light me up before we come down.
Hello everybody and welcome into the Blue Ridge Auto Group NOMA Gen 6 Series live from the once famous mile-and-a-half Chicagoland Speedway. We got a good one in store for you here tonight. I'm Austin Green and you are watching on Ghost Racing Network. Drivers just got done with qualifying. They're getting gridded up, getting ready to go. So let's take a look at what your starting order for the night is going to be. On pole, good lap tonight for Grant Turner. He puts down a 30.4. That's going to set the 39 machine on the front row. Next to him will start Zach Stevens. For Venom Racing, back in third will be Clay Cantrell. Don't forget he's coming off that win that he got last week. We're going to see if he can get his third of the season here tonight. Rounding out row number 2 is going to be Willie Cantrell, one of the new drivers making his debut here tonight for the NOMA Gen 6 Series. Justin Parham back in 5th. It's Kenneth Redinger back in 6th. Matthew Fritz, Joey Hickox making up row number 4. Jay Stinson in 9th, and Randy Bonomi, another new addition tonight. He will be rounding out row number 5. Chase Greer, he starts 11th. To his outside is going to be Bradley King back in 12th. And that is rounding out our field tonight. Not as big of a field again as maybe what we normally expect, but a couple more than usual. Nonetheless, and taking a look at your race info, it is the Blue Ridge Auto Group 150. The Gen 6 Series, as always, going to be 100 laps. Total distance here tonight around this D-shaped mile-and-a-half, 65% fuel. Everybody does have 5 tire sets in total, 4 sitting in the pits. 1 fast pair fixed setups as always. 3 green white checkers if we were to need them. Taking a look a little bit deeper at Chicagoland Speedway, you see it there again, a mile-and-a-half. Pretty good banking in the corners, not as much as we would see at a track like Daytona or Talladega, but about track temp tonight, over 115 degrees, so going to be a little bit toasty, and then track length coming in at exactly just over a mile-and-a-half. 100 laps times about 1.5, that gives you your 150-mile distance, total length that we will go here tonight. All right, so as we get ready to roll, it's been a pretty good season so far. The battle for the championship is still well and alive, and I think another one of the guys who's going to be putting a lot of pressure here on Kenneth Redinger, if you will, as we continue to move through the middle portions and start to transition into the later portions of the season, is Clay Cantrell in that 88 machine. Again, things he started to kind of make happen here in the last couple weeks have been pretty extraordinary, and nothing changing here tonight, so he's going to try to, again, look for his 3rd win of the season. You certainly can't rule him out as a favorite, but the racing action here at Chicago can be one of the best tracks we head to all season. Here we go into the Geico Restart Zone for the first time here tonight. Green flag is in the air. We're racing at Chicago. Lap 1 at the line is going to go to Grant Turner, but not by much. Clay Cantrell already knocking on the doors. He takes a peek to the inside, going down into turn number 1. We'll see if he's able to make this move work. He's got to get that car rotated. Can't do it. He'll jump back up in line just behind. We got a little bit of another battle brewing. This is going to be the battle for 5th, as it's Kenneth Redinger and his teammate Justin Parham going to war. Willie Cantrell just in front. And now what Chicago's going to do is run a little bit similar, at least at the starts, these restarts, if you will, to what we do see at a Daytona and Talladega. That draft going to be a very important factor. It'll keep all these guys pretty even, at least until these tires start to wear out, which they will do. Very abrasive racetrack, and again, as this race goes on, you're going to start to see some of those wear issues come into play, but let's take a ride on board here right off the get-go. With Grant Turner, your pole sitters, he still leads, and in fact, let's pull up the dashboard speeds and see what a lap looks like here at a track like Chicagoland. See, guys not quite hooking the bottom, at least not yet. But as they go down the front stretch, look how wide that apron is. You got the advantage of taking it all the way down to the grass here if you want, but about 190 miles an hour as they get to the end of the front straightaway and down into turn number 1. Backstretch going to be more of the same, but you see it's never really straight. Again, still a little bit of a bend as you go down the entire back straightaway, so it gives you a chance to make a little bit of a wider exit, but not by much. And Clay Cantrell looked for another move maybe there down the back stretch. There was just nothing doing. He quickly had to jump back down in line. He'll settle again for 2nd. Grant Turner, again, looking for that first win of the season. He's had a couple of close chances, a couple of podium finishes, and coming off again an injury last week. We didn't get to see him out here, so, you know, maybe, I don't know if I'd call it a chip on his shoulder, but definitely a little extra motivation to come out here tonight and see if he can't get the job done, and certainly looking like he's got a good shot at it right now. And while they've been pretty content with staying single file, at least for the first couple positions, you get to third on back, it is still a mad scramble for who wants where. Kenneth Redinger slowly picking his way through the field still. Has been doing it since the drop of the green. I take it back. That was also Joey Hickox, who I saw making his way up in the mix. Redinger, though, up front as Hickox got into the wall right there. Coming out of the tri-oval. Looks like he's good. That'll give him a couple of scrapes, but remember, we have not seen Joey out here as much either, so you got to wonder if maybe some of that lack of track time has got Joey just a little bit rusty in these cars. We don't see him anywhere else in the NOMA Series, so your Truck Series champion's got a little bit of learning to do here, but Chicagoland, I think one of the tracks that he might be a fan of, it races similar to what we see at Vegas, but again, different car, a lot higher speeds, more horsepower, a little bit less downforce as well for these Gen 6 cars. Here we go, battle for the lead yet again. Clay Cantrell taking another peek to the inside of Grant Turner. And that outside has just been so strong, and now it looks like Clay, unfortunately, is going to lose another spot right here to Kenneth Redinger, who made that move work in a big way. So everybody's taking notes. That hot track temp has the racing line already moving up, and eventually they'll get this bottom lane rubbered in. It's just a matter of time, and so far, again, not really anybody wanting to venture down all the way to that white line just yet. They're getting about a quarter lane off of it. The guys who are going the lowest in 1 and 2, but 3 and 4. Definitely looks like that line's a little different. And there you see the 4 of Willie Cantrell, who we talked about making his first start of the season here tonight. He's got the Mountain Dew Gamer Fuel machine. That Chevy Camaro. It's a pretty good looking scheme here tonight as well. He's sitting right in the middle of this chaos. He's actually lost a spot from where he started, but sitting behind Zach Stevens. And talk about Venom Racing, one of the big teams right up there with Spino Racing, and they added at least 1, potentially 2 new additions here tonight. We already took a look at Joey Hickox at the start of the race, and then another guy that you had to wonder if he's with these Venom Racing guys is Randy Bonomi, the driver out of Plantsville. Not 100% sure, but we know that we see him, of course, with Hickox Racing over in the NOMA Truck Series, the Super Speedway Series, but looking for a good run here tonight, see what he can do in his first start. And when you have a guy like Clay Cantrell come out here and get a win in his first start, certainly changes some things for how everybody else wants to race, and I feel like it's only fitting that maybe we're expecting a good run from Willie Cantrell based off what we've seen from Clay. Gotta think maybe there's some relation there. I don't know if I could picture them just happen to have the same last name, but here you go. Chase Greer in the 8, taking a spot away from the 4. He'll continue to slide back, but looks like everybody's still pretty grouped up. One of the drivers that we don't see out here tonight is Brianna Laurent. So looks like she's going to take a break, maybe an off week. Here's Bradley King back in the 12th spot, no gain, and of course nowhere to lose. Currently sits in that last position that we got out here on the night. But he is sitting a little bit further back from the rest of the leaders, as you see there. He's kind of separated himself from the pack. Not sure if that car's got a little bit of an issue or he's just struggling for grip. Matthew Fritz back here as well. But the battle for the lead all the way back to 5th, you could still put them all under a blanket. I mean, we have seen not really any movement up to this point, and already 12 laps in the books. But when is that first pit stop going to come? That'll be the first question tonight, the thing that has everybody wondering. And last week, of course, at Nashville Super Speedway, a much more technical track. Speed's not quite as high, not nearly as much of a drafting track, but what a move that was there from Clay Cantrell. He had to be so patient. Finally got that opportunity to pounce, and boy, he did not miss it. He is now going to take the lead here in the Blue Ridge Auto Group 150. Justin Parham slides up into second in front of his teammate now, Kenneth Redinger. Looks like Redinger riding the white line again. I've not really seen anybody taking advantage of being able to go below that apron yet. You got to wonder if they're saving that for maybe some restarts. And Grant Turner, ladies and gentlemen, he's fading here, and he's fading fast. Wonder if he maybe used his stuff up just a little bit more than he kind of planned to early on. Now, he is one of the guys that we have a driver cam for here tonight, so we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. But, you know, we talk about Chicago, it's a high-speed track, but another characteristic that it shares with a track like Vegas is, as fast as it feels, if you don't save your tires, it can really hurt you in the back end of these runs. And there's Grant Turner with a big dive on Joey Hickox. Thought maybe he was going to try a slide job there. Actually, that was Zach Stevens. I apologize. Grant Turner a couple spots back, and you can see continue to lose positions. Ooh, Stevens gets into the 24. Redinger, a little bit of argy-bargy. Oh, Grant Turner's going to go around, trying to save it as he spins, cautions out, gets into the outside wall. Looks like he'll get back rolling. Not sure how bad the damage was. That draws first blood here on the night. He's trying to find out if he broke any sort of suspension. Looking at his steering wheel. We'll wait till he gets on the straightaway. Again, it could just potentially be a little bit of a wheel offset. You see, we got his driver cam. Look at his Porsche wheel right there, Ferrari wheel, if you will. And it looks like it's a little bit sideways. Compare that to your leader, Justin Parham. No, I think his suspension might be okay. That might just be the wheel angle these guys run here. So we'll check back in on Grant in just a moment as he throws his hands up just as we take the driver cam off, saying what in the world happened there. And so we're going to go find out here. Let's go take a look at what happens to the 39 to get him sideways. And we were starting to really see a lot of aggressive racing, actually more than what we saw right at the start of this race. And we're going to go to the chopper view first off. And looks like Jay Stinson on the back of Grant Turner. And is he going to look for a move and maybe just make some contact? Watch the 31. Well, he's close, and interestingly enough right there, looks like Jay tries to go make a move. Kind of slides across his bumper, fine there, but then you see the 31 just kind of drives it into his left rear. And certainly you don't think there's any intent there from Jay. You got to wonder if just misjudged something, or it looked maybe a little different to him from the cockpit view. It always looks a lot different when we watch it from up here in the broadcast booth, so I think this will do a little more justice here. Watch what Jay Stinson tries to do. He's going to try to duck low, and I think at that point he thinks that maybe he's going to get into the corner a little bit deeper. Grant maybe going to go up a little bit, but it looks like as they actually do get into the corner here, Grant doesn't slide up as much as Jay's expecting. And, well, that's a little bit of a tough call there. I think the 31 maybe gets the 39 just a little bit upset right there. It brings the 39 down just ever so slightly. Talking maybe just a foot or so, and then they were running so close at that point. Jay Stinson's going to make contact with the left rear. Grant Turner, that gets him sideways. You see him slide up, backs it into the outside safer barrier. Then Stinson goes for a little bit of a drive down towards the infield. He's able to save it, get back rolling. So no real harm, no foul. Again, Grant Turner going to get the worst of this one. But we'll take a couple more views of this from TV2. And I think if they're on the bottom lane, I think Grant maybe actually drives out of this one, but you see him and Jay, they kind of get stuck together, and that pushes that 39, the left side, up into that outside wall. And then, wow, Willie Cantrell, boy, he just snuck by there at the last second. Take a view. Sees him wrecking, knows he's got one place to go, and it's to the inside. Does just that. You saw Jay Stinson right there. Once he was finally able to get off of Grant Turner, almost come back down the track. Take one final view here from the blimp cam. There he gets turned up the track. He goes. Just like that, your pole sitter now finds himself in the back of the field. But up front, the one-to-go signal has been received. So we're going back green this time. 17 laps now complete. Justin Parham being scored as your leader. Kenneth Redinger back in second. Zach Stevens third. Joey Hickox in fourth. And Jay Stinson rounding out your top five. And I think we maybe had a little bit of a strategy mix here. Clay Cantrell has fallen to the back. Not sure if he got a penalty or, again, if there's some strategy play, but I would think everybody would have had to come in to get tires. Certainly don't see any reason that you wouldn't. As Nancy Hickox says, Austin, did two cars up front have contact? I didn't notice that, Nancy, but we'll go back and maybe take a look here if we get some time. Right now, though, we'll keep it here at the front for the restart. Green flag back in the air. 18 laps complete now at Chicago. Justin Parham with a really good start. He's going to get through the gears and off to the races before anybody else has a chance at catching him. Zach Stevens on the inside. The battle right now is for second. Who can get themselves set up in that track position? Off of turn number 2, the outside. We saw rolling better when you're up to speed, but sometimes that inside, the shorter way around the track, is the place to be on the first lap. Not looking like the case here, though. How about Redinger showing a lot of muscle on the outside? He's going to get clear of Zach Stevens. Joey Hickox trying to follow in the tire tracks here. He's taking it to the third lane. Ooh, man, comes within inches of scraping that outside safer barrier. That was a close call right there for Joey Hickox, but he does pick up the position nonetheless. And now he's going to take it. Looks like maybe even a lane higher. Man, Joey showing no fear right now. He is trying everything he can to get up to your leaders. Looking out the gearbox here of the 3 machine. A lot of Chevys makes up most of the field here tonight. In fact, all Chevys. Looks like we got no Fords in the field here tonight. So if you're Kenneth Redinger, what do you do here? Do you start sizing up your teammate, or do you maybe take it easy and see if you two can work together and maybe try to break away from this draft a little bit? And as they go back into turn number 1, the main battle right now is this battle that we're seeing for 4th and 5th. Zach Stevens and Chase Greer, the two teammates, and two of the rookies that we saw in the NOMA Truck Series last season. Randy Bonomi now also trying to put himself up in the mix. He's already up a couple positions down from where he started. Bradley King still hanging on to the tail of this drive. Matthew Fritz, Willie Cantrell falling back a little bit. So it was Clay Cantrell who's making up the most positions since this restart. And so all of a sudden that makes you kind of question, maybe was there a little bit of tire strategy during this pit stop? It doesn't look like it. Looks like everybody did bring it down to pit, and you got to assume that everybody would have taken 4 in fuel. And so that is going to back this fuel window up a little bit, maybe to probably, if I had to guess, and again, this is just a guess, maybe high 30s, we'll call it somewhere in the 40s. Well, it's 65% though. I'm thinking it's going to be close to maybe 30-something laps that these guys can make on a full tank of fuel in these cars here. So you maybe expect that next pit stop somewhere in the 50s, maybe 60s. Again, depending on how far they can all stretch it. And so it's Stevens and Grant Turner now try to battle it out. The 39 on the inside. Here comes Clay Cantrell. And what a season that it's been for so many of these guys so far. Good storylines, bad storylines, and just about everything in between. And talk about how currently sitting in the middle portions of the season, and when you have a championship that's based strictly on points, and you don't have playoffs, you don't have a one race determining champion, if you will, or one race to determine a champion, it makes things a lot more interesting. Each race becomes that much more important. Consistent finishes start to really show in the points category. And if we take a look after last week at what all these stats are looking like, I talked earlier about I thought Clay Cantrell would maybe be a threat. Right now, he's not. In fact, it is still Kenneth Redinger in a lead. And when I say lead, a pretty comfortable one. Again, 2 wins on the season and 25 bonus points to go along with that. Right now, he sits just under 20 points ahead of second place Zach Stevens, who got that win just a couple races ago at Talladega Super Speedway. And since then, he's been on a pretty good tear as of recent. Chase Greer back in 3rd. John Lynch 4th. Matthew Fritz in 5th. And some of the guys that maybe a little surprised to see this far back, considering the field size that we've had, that are looking for a couple of big runs here in these next few races. Justin Parham sitting in that 6th spot. He's trying to catch up to his teammates, who currently sit again in that 4th and 1st position for points. Jay Stinson back in 7th. Grant Turner, again, missing last week, not going to help his cause. Drop 5 positions in points. Bradley King in 9th. Brandon Laurent rounding out your top 10. And then there's Clay Cantrell, who right now currently back in 12th. And I think partially because he's a part-timer, unless he's able to make the rest of the season, I just don't know if he's got enough to catch all the way back up, or even if anywhere close to your leaders here in the races that we have remaining. And speaking of your leaders, Justin Parham and his teammate Kenneth Redinger, they did just what we suggested here, just what the doctor ordered. They decided to work together, and they're going to try to pull away a little bit here. Figure that there's probably no point in them racing right now. I mean, there's nothing to gain. Just saving a little tire, helping your teammate continue to go further and further towards the front. And it seems like this might be the winning strategy, as they have pulled away from Zach Stevens by almost a 1.5 seconds now. Don't count out the 33. We know he likes to save tires, and I think that Zach maybe here is doing just that, and maybe he'll start to catch here in the next 10 laps or so. Joey Hickok still holding down the house in 4th. Clay Cantrell, man, what a move, or couple moves he's been making to get back up here as quick as he has. And he's put that 88 Chevy Camaro, the Blue Ridge Auto Group scheme, sponsor scheme here tonight. You know, that'd mean a lot more for him if he could get the win. He's put it right back up in the top 10. In no time, he's up 5 in total from where he started this race. But again, that doesn't do justice on where he started at the tail of the longest line here for this last restart, and has quickly been able to get back to the lead. 28 laps complete. Bradley King has started to fall off. So has Willie Cantrell. You got to wonder here what's going on, and it might be Wiley Cantrell, so I'm going to go ahead and apologize now. I think I was reading 2 L's this whole time. We'll find out after, but if it's Wiley, I certainly apologize. We'll stick with what we got the rest of the way. And man, now we're seeing the battle up front, and just like that, they're not going to fight too much for it. Didn't quite capture it as it happened, but Kenneth Redinger and Justin Parham just kind of did a little switch. Redinger had a run, took it. His teammate Parham didn't battle him too hard, and so Redinger did a nice job of saving some tire. And from what it's looked like, oh, he gets in the wall there, coming off of turn 2. Well, this is going to stall out the SPINO Racing drivers' progress is now all of a sudden Zach Stevens, Joey Hickox, they're going to close that gap back up to under half a second as they go through turn 3 and 4. And I was just getting ready to say that I thought Redinger must have done a pretty good job of saving some tire. And from what it seemed like tonight, tires have been a lot more important here in these Gen 6 cars than they've been in the trucks. And again, you got to credit that potentially to a little bit more horsepower and therefore a little bit less downforce as well. And there you see that Joey Hickox, who actually picked up the position from Zach Stevens for a moment, quickly lost it. Not sure if he had a slip up. But through 30 laps of racing, how about it? Only one caution up to this point. And that was Grant Turner and Jay Stinson. Take a look at how those two have recovered. Jay Stinson, as it stands, is still back at 8th, so he is struggling a little bit right now to get through some of this traffic. So is Grant Turner. He is in 7th, down 6 from where he started. Again, talked about really needs a good run here tonight to try to make up for what he had last week. In fact, a win would be monumental for the 39 machine. Again, he's one of the independent drivers in the field, so doesn't necessarily have any teammates to rely on or to back on, but trying the best he can here tonight. How about everybody tuning in here tonight? Appreciate everybody checking out the broadcast. Nancy says, let's have a good race tonight. Looks like Mark Stevens, good to see you in here, rooting on Zach Stevens. And the next thing that we were getting ready to get into before your leaders started getting a little bit more entertaining here was what the schedule's looking like. And we'll have to hold that thought again as Zach Stevens, he's now going to look for a pass on Justin Parham. So just as we thought that maybe the two teammates who were pulling away from everyone was saving a lot of tire and going to continue to extend that gap, it's Zach Stevens, the man who is really, he gets spun around on the front stretch. To the grass he goes. Where's the caution? Not going to get one. He says he saves it. What a save from Zach Stevens, but he's going to lose all his track position and lose the draft as well. Looked like he just got tied off the corner and there was a car on the outside. Not sure if if Justin Parham hit the outside wall. Let's go back and take a look at this for Zach Stevens. Might have to back this up just a little bit more. Take a look here. That was the last incident. Here we go. So we're going to go to the blimp cam first. So I think what happens here is Parham's getting tight and Stevens is getting tight, and they're both. Well, no, Parham doesn't really get that tight. I take it back. Well, it was going to be close for Parham. I'll tell you what, it was going to be really close for Parham. He's certainly getting a little tight. Car's starting to get a lot of understeer, not turning for him on exit, and he was getting close to that outside wall. Stevens, I think, was maybe trying to jump behind. You got to wonder, did Parham have to bail out of the throttle? Stevens couldn't quite adjust for it. Gets in the back of Parham, who gets in the wall, and that little bit of a bounce off the wall sends Stevens through a ride, mows a little bit of grass down there in the infield, and then is able to get back on the track in the exit of the tri-oval, but again, lost all sorts of positions. So first we want to take here is for Justin Parham. We'll go to the gearbox cam. Listen to the throttle here. Boy, it was really close. I couldn't tell from that listen there if he had let off the throttle after the contact was made or just a split second before. Watch the RPMs here. You see him sitting pretty comfortable at 7,700, 78s. Yeah, no, I think there's a little bit of contact. I think that's just Stevens trying to tuck in behind. And then as Parham gets tight, maybe a little bit of a checkup mixed in there as well. And that's what sends Stevens through the grass here. Take one more view from TV1. And boy, it does not take much contact. Shows you just how delicate these cars are. Man, what a piece of driving there from Zach Stevens to drive out of this. And we keep showing it from the TV cam. That does not do it justice. Watch his hands here. I mean, he is headed straight for potentially going down to that inside wall or spinning around, losing everything. But instead, he keeps driving it. Again, almost like a shortcut off-road that he's just got to let out the throttle a little bit for. Nicely done. Zach Stevens, unfortunately, did fall back to 10th, and thinking he is probably going to need a caution as we take a look at the track map. There you see the separation now of what looks like become kind of two packs. And leading that second pack is Wiley Cantrell. I believe it is Wiley, by the way, so we're going to stick with that for now. Grant Turner, currently last in that first pack. And look at this. I mean, this is what we expect to see again at a track like Daytona or Talladega. Single file drafting action, but the Pied Piper of them all has been Justin Parham and Kenneth Redinger for most of the night. And Redinger is starting to try to push himself away from everybody else down here a little bit. Going back to what we were going to try to talk about a couple different times before we bring up the schedule. Here's what we got going on for team points right now. SPINO Racing still leads it 12 starts, tied with Venom Racing in total. And they've got 3 wins, so they do have 2 more than Venom Racing. And overall points, looks like they're ahead by just about 15 or so points, give or take a couple. So looks like actually about 13 points. And so what can Venom Racing do? Again, they still got plenty of races, and that's not a big gap in terms of points. It takes 1 good race for Venom Racing or 1 bad race for SPINO Racing for those standings to switch around a little bit. And then last but not least, what we got coming up on this, or what we got for the rest of the season rather, coming up on the schedule. Next week, we are going to head to the home of motorsports, at least for stock car racing, Charlotte Motor Speedway. That's going to be a good one. That's going to be one of the longer races of the season, 110 laps, but it's a nighttime race, so it's going to be fun. Make sure you tune in for that one. After that, we head to Texas for the second to last race, and then, yes, we're going to wrap things up with Las Vegas, Sin City, and we'll see who's able to gamble for a chance to win the NOMA Gen 6 Series Season 1 Championship, presented by Blue Ridge Auto Group. 40 laps now complete, approaching the halfway mark. Again, no set caution, but I still have never got confirmation whether or not these guys get any extra points for leading that halfway break. Wouldn't think so, but right around that halfway break is when we're going to be expecting to see some pit stops as well. So on that note, we are going to take our first break tonight. We'll go side by side, and we'll be back for green flag pit stops. Stick with us at Chicago. Front, now we're going to see a little 4-wide action.
Crazy out of the trail.
Oh, he can throw it in the lead under record.
3 by 3 entering 4.
3 deep. At the flag stand, side by side, it's going to be Jason Maines winning it at Talladega. Back live at Chicagoland Speedway for the Blue Ridge Auto Group 150. 46 of 100 laps complete. And who would have guessed Joey Hickox, who I thought was maybe overusing his stuff earlier, has found a lot of speed here late in this pit run. And man, he is almost to the back bumper of Kenneth Redinger. The gap currently sitting at 0.2 of a second. Justin Parham leading what is now formed as a second of 3 packs. And you got Jay Stinson followed by Matthew Fritz in 5th, Clay Cantrell 6th, Chase Greer in 7th. And what this has turned into is really a cat and mouse game. These tires are starting to get to the point of being so worn out that you got to just stay in the draft, and if you get a chance to make a move, you got to make it work in that one move. If you don't, it's going to wear the tires out too much to have another shot to make one anytime soon after that. But there you go, Clay Cantrell. That last lap we saw him trying to take a peek to the inside, didn't work out. Fell a spot and almost loses even more, as just kills his momentum. And then as Chase Greer gets there, he's got a peek, but nothing doing there, so we'll have to settle with where he's at for now. But quick reminder before I forget, if you're out watching tonight and you have a chance, let me know if everything looks and sounds okay. As here we go, first pit stops of the night. Looks like it is going to be Chase Greer, in fact, who is the first one to bring it down to the pits. I'm surprised that we did not see anybody else go in right there. But so Chase Greer brings it in on lap 49. And this is a little bit earlier than I was expecting. We'll see what the 8 tries to take care. I mean, this is 1 lap before that halfway marker. It looks like, yep, he's going to jack up the right side, so it'll be 4 and fuel for the 8 Venom Racing machine. And we'll see how this draws everybody else down now. If you're Kenneth Redinger, I was wondering if you bring it in this time, but it looks like he does not. And if you're anybody else, do you bring it in this time? Is Zach Stevens? Oh, maybe he had some more trouble. This might have been during break. Not sure when this was, but we did not catch it live. Yeah, running next to Wiley Cantrell, and as they come off of turn 4, Wiley's actually the one that gets tight. You saw him get up into that outside wall, and when he does so, bounces off of the safer barrier and comes down. So watch this. Before he gets up, gets in the wall, he's trying to turn off of it, and he does, but unfortunately Zach Stevens arriving on scene at just wrong place, wrong time, and tries to save it. And it looks like yet again, ooh, well that time he's going to go for just about a 90-degree spin for a couple hundred yards. And so that cost him even more time as Joey Hickox now brings it to the pits. This will be his first green flag stop of the night, as he was catching Redinger. So this is an interesting call. Usually when you're the guy catching the leader, you stay out later, kind of force his hand. But I like what Joey's doing here, undercutting it. He's going to be able to run faster laps here right off the start. So we'll see if that strategy beats out Kenneth Redinger, who's going to bring it down this time. And initially, if you're Kenneth, you're probably thinking to yourself that you're going to be able to take it nice and easy coming to the pits, make sure you just don't make a mistake. But after seeing how quick Joey Hickox has been here in the late run, I don't think that Redinger could pull off that strategy anymore. And by everybody pitting here, that sets us up for 1 more green flag pit stop for everybody. Unless you can make it here to probably lap 70, which is another 18 from now. I just don't see that being the case. But here you go, Redinger taking 4 in fuel, as did Hickox. And so now the question becomes, who catches who here? You would expect that Joey should be able to kind of lap Kenneth Redinger here, depending on the gap. So here you go, yeah, as Redinger is just making his way back out onto the racing surface. Keep an eye here on Joey Hickox, Chase Greer, who pitted in earlier. I mean, look how much of a gap he got on just the 3 car. And so there's Redinger making his way out of the pits. Joey actually not going to get there. So that makes me think that the actual stop itself not as clean as it could have been for Joey Hickox. And now we're going to see some more pit stops here towards the front. Clay Cantrell, looks like Randy Bonomi and Bradley King. Grant Turner as well. And actually, I think Grant Turner's maybe just getting his pit stop finished up. Nope, take it back. That was somebody else that I saw coming in. And oh, Wiley Cantrell. Maybe a little bit of trouble here. Nope, I think he got into the grass. You see some tire tracks. Maybe a little bit of a lockup here coming into the pits, but he's okay. Gets it down to speed. We'll see if he gets a penalty. Jay Stinson in as well. There's Parham. So just about everybody has pit up to this point. Still got a couple stragglers, if you will. Looks like Matthew Fritz still out there. Zach Stevens, I think at this point, just has to stay out as long as he can on each of these cycles and hope for a caution. Hope, of course, not to go a lap down, but doesn't look like he's going to get that caution anytime soon. So as we go up front, right now it is indeed Matthew Fritz who's being scored as your leader. Zach Stevens in second, but there you go. He's going to make his pit stop now, the 33. No damage, but not telling the whole story there, as he's been involved in a couple different incidents here on the night. And so as he sits in second, it's Matthew Fritz who, well, I was just going to say he's continuing to get some laps led here tonight, but he is finally going to go ahead and make his stop. So that'll hand the lead over now to Grant Turner, or it will hand the lead over momentarily to Grant Turner, currently 28 seconds back, but Matthew Fritz, the time on pit road loss will be enough for him to lose that spot. And so as we go up here to Grant Turner, we take a look at the cockpit view. You see right now, it looks like he's just about 3 seconds ahead of Chase Greer, so kind of wonder, did Grant Turner try a bold strategy here? The driver out of Akron, Ohio. What has he got up his sleeve right now? He's always scheming, always trying something. He's been a busy man here tonight. Again, looking for that first win on the season still. One of the independent drivers, but you wouldn't know it if you saw how much talent he's got out here on the track. So, see if he decides to bring it in this time, but we are now 6 laps over that halfway mark, so just about any lap should do at this point. So still no stop yet. Actually, I keep talking about it, or excuse me, I think I misspoke there when I talked about a stop. I think he's already pit. I would think he would have had to at least to be only 2 seconds ahead of Chase Greer. And so Kenneth Redinger back in third. All these guys you got to expect to assume the positions that they were in once everything does officially cycle out. We just haven't quite got to that point yet. We'll be coming up on 60 laps complete here in just about a few laps, 40 to go once we hit that point. And I think that final pit window opens probably right around 30 laps to go. If you're playing it extra safe, maybe you wait till a couple laps after 30 to go. So right around, let's say lap 70, maybe lap 73. If you're playing it extra safe is when we expect that final pit stop, at least for the majority of the field. But you got some of these opportunities, such as Grant Turner tried some strategy. May not be the case. Chase Greer has got that gap closed up now to about just over a second, now under a second, as they work their way through 3 and 4. On Grant Turner, your current leader. And if we go back even further here, Joey Hickox in that 3 car has settled into 4th. Justin Parham back in 5th. Clay Cantrell 6th. Jay Stinson in 7th. Matthew Fritz at 8th. Wiley Cantrell 9th. And Randy Bonomi rounding out your top 10. Time for a little crank it up at Chicagoland. Here we go. And that'll do it for tonight's segment of Crank It Up. I hope everybody enjoyed. Not quite as good of a camera package here at Chicago as we get at some of these other racetracks, but nonetheless, still all the sights and sounds from, again, this what was once one of my favorite tracks in real life, and unfortunately, they don't run there anymore on the schedule. In fact, I think it got torn down, but the beauty of sim racing is tracks never get torn down, and so these guys have been having a blast here tonight on track, I can only assume, as John Lynch, by the way, one of the SPINO Racing drivers, the night he's had tonight, maybe a little bit off, at least from what he was expecting. As actually I talked about, excuse me, John Lynch was not in the field tonight. I don't know what I was saying there right there. I meant to say Justin Parham, the night a little bit off because he got the lead at one point. But since then, just not been the way he's wanted it to go. That green flag stop at least. Finds himself back in 5th. Clay Cantrell in 6th. Jay Stinson 7th. Matthew Fritz 8th. Wiley Cantrell 9th. Randy Bonomi still rounding out your top 10. And so if you're Redinger now, I mean, this is the ideal spot, right? Coming to 35 laps to go next time. We got one more green flag stop. But if he can keep the gap that he's got going for him right now, then he's not going to feel pressured for this final stop. He can take it nice and easy. And the only thing that would hurt him after that point you would expect would be a caution, That's certainly not something he wants to see, but we go back here to a guy like Joey Hickox, who, again, so much promise during the end of that last run. I mean, it looked like he was getting ready to take the lead as, Parham gets into the outside wall. Now he gets into it again and actually gets stuck in it there. Just to do a little wall riding through turns 3 and 4. Able to get out of it, but loses a couple spots there. One to Clay Cantrell, the second one to Jay Stinson. And so overdoing it maybe just a little bit again here for Parham tonight, as he knows he's got a fast car, wants so badly to get back up there to show what he's got, and now that he keeps getting caught in traffic, it's just getting too tough to do when the draft is as strong as it is here. And the only way you can really do anything about that is if you're the leader. And the reason is because Kenneth Redinger, he's got the cleanest air of everybody. He can get more downforce on the nose, so once we get on old tires, even with the draft, he's got more grip than everybody else. And so eventually, after a lot of just kind of nipping away at that gap, he was finally able to get it to a point where nobody currently sits in his draft, including Chase Greer, who's just about 300ths outside of it. And then Grant Turner, who maybe trying a bit of a bold strategy, currently working out pretty well, still finds himself on the podium, but you got to wonder, how much does he undercut this last stop, or does he try to abandon strategy and maybe see if he can't go long on this final pit stop? But as it stands, sitting 3 seconds back, he's just not going to, I don't think he's going to have enough without a caution, as is just about anybody else. This is Kenneth Redinger's race to lose, at least at this point, but the real battle is this one we are still seeing back here for 4th and 5th. Joey Hickox leading them all, but just as you think they're getting single file, they fan right back out. The racing continues to stay aggressive. And sometimes that aggressive racing can lead to certain things, potentially a caution, which we have not seen since that one early on. It's been a lot of green flag racing, and it's led to some strategy play here in the late mid to late going of the race. Joey Hickox still leading, and he's been wall riding. Well, not quite wall riding, but up in that 3rd lane. You see the seams separating each of those lanes. And I think where he's at is about as high as you can go. We saw Parham trying to ride about half a lane higher earlier. It didn't work out, got in the wall. And when you're running this fast, there's a little bit of a cushion up there by that wall. If you break the cushion, you get sucked into that wall, and it feels like it's just about impossible to get out of it without losing 30 to 40 miles an hour. Kenneth Redinger, the gap is now up over 2.3 seconds to second. Almost over 4 seconds now, is back to 3rd. And he is closing in on 30 laps to go in this race. Still hanging around to see when is this final pit stop going to come. I mean, I think if you're Redinger, do you undercut it? I mean, it's an interesting strategy by not undercutting it and going a little bit longer. You know what he's going to have, and that's the freshest tires of anybody in this field, probably by a mile. The problem is, though, he will probably surrender that lead to potentially Grant Turner, Chase Greer, maybe even a guy like Joey Hickox, who's currently 6 seconds back, if they decide to undercut him. However, on the flip side of that, those fresher tires at the end may be all he needs to set sail for the last 10 laps or so. So now that that fuel window has officially opened up, what will we see for strategy? Here's the gearbox view for Clay Cantrell. Looking at Jay Stinson and Justin Parham, who continue to battle it out. In fact, right there, looks like it's a little bumpy here still. In fact, I was wondering right there if Clay was bottoming out just a little bit. As there you go. First pit stop, or last pit stop, I should say, but first one from this group for the last round of pit stops, and it's going to be Justin Parham in the 9 machine. He'll take 4 in fuel and makes this stop with exactly 39 laps to go. So these guys could make it actually 29 laps to go. And so we'll see how this works out. Apologize if I misspoke a couple laps earlier when I said 35 to go. I believe I held it back 65. It's been a tiring day here. Been up early this morning. We're going to be here late tonight, but what better way to do it than to come out and watch these guys race in the Gen 6 cars. And the NOMA Truck Series, by the way, going to be starting back up not too long from now. In fact, I think it's the first Saturday after the real-life Daytona races. So make sure you stick around to hear from that. I believe we'll be back, but I haven't got official confirmation just yet. And then, of course, the NOMA Super Speedway Series going to be making its return. The NOMA DPI Series did get put on hold for now, so unfortunate news there. But 2024 going to be another big year for NOMA, and we'll see what they have to offer for all their differing series. And I know that they certainly appreciate it, so I'll say on behalf of them, and we appreciate it here at Ghost, all the sponsors that come in to make this possible. Blue Ridge Auto Group, Manny Rays, I mean everybody, Flatwoods, go on and on, H&H Tractor. it takes good guys to make a good community, and it's exactly what you get over here in the NOMA Gen 6 series and all the other NOMA series. So it's going to be out here on a Thursday night watching these guys rip it at Chicago. Joey Hickok still leading this battle. None of these guys have made that last stop just yet. So Justin Parham decided to be, call it the test rat of the field here tonight, as he pits early on this final green flag cycle. Waiting to see if it works out. He's currently a lap down from it, but should be able to get that lap back pretty quick unless... Did he get caught speeding? I didn't think he did, but... Ooh, yikes. Maybe he did, because he is finding himself pretty far back from the field. Well, no, I take that back. I don't think he did. I think you just lose that much time here on the pits in general. Let's go back and take a look, just because we can here to make sure. Justin Parham sits in the pits. There's the tires. Yeah, no, he rolls out right away. No penalty there for the 9 machine. Just loses a lap due to the time that it takes to go through a pit cycle. And so now 25 laps to go for Kenneth Redinger to try to capture his 3rd win on the season. It was becoming a race between him and Clay Cantrell on who was going to get that 3rd win first. But here tonight, unless we get a caution, looking like the 24 has got a pretty good go at it. And I think early on, Clay had a pretty good car. Not sure exactly what happened, but once he got set back there, just couldn't quite find that same speed. Still had a solid night, though, nonetheless, as he brings the 88 machine down just behind Chase Greer in the 8 for Venom Racing. As Wiley Cantrell with some trouble again here. This is getting onto the pits. I believe this is the 2nd time he's had some struggles here tonight trying to get it down to pit speed and just carrying way too much speed. It's easy to do here at Chicago. You go from the high banking down to the flat apron, and the pit road is even more of a turn than you have to do just to get out of 4. So he tried to get on the brakes a little bit too late, and as a result, see, locks it up, gets into the grass, is able to get back rolling, but you got to think that's going to be a penalty potentially for an unsafe entrance and maybe speeding. Well, I don't think he's going to get a speeding penalty, but as he brings it down, Randy Bonomi now with some trouble getting into the pits as well. Looks like he maybe had to get into the grass as Bradley King follows him in. Jay Stinson making his stop. And so it still leaves out a couple of your leaders. Joey Hickox, Matthew Fritz. Those 2 teammates in both the Gen 6 and Truck Series are going to bring it down. I believe that Kenneth Redinger did as well. Yeah, sure enough, he did. And so Parham does assume the lead here with 22 laps to go. That undercut strategy working well. Part of that is the big lap time fall-off that we have had, so just had to take a look at it, just how that fall-off works. Grant Turner right now is being scored as your leader. And he is, I don't believe he's made that last stop yet. And so 32.817 as there goes Redinger to get his lap back. Is the last lap time 32.8 that time. You compare that to a guy like Redinger who just got back on the lead lap, fresh tires, 30.85. So just about a 2-second fall off in the Gen 6 cars here at Chicago. That's a pretty big deal. And so we'll see how that evolves here through the rest of this run. But Grant Turner, talk about he's got a trick up his sleeve. It's just a matter of what is it, or is he just trying to go in the long run? Maybe not so much, because he's going to bring it down to the pits here. So brings it in pretty aggressive, but he's able to get down to pit speed. This will be his final stop. We'll see if he tries to maybe take 2 tires with 21 laps to go. I don't know how much time that would gain him, and even if it does gain him some time, that car just not going to handle very well. And I believe that Grant Turner was potentially the last stop that we were waiting on. Zach Stevens, Justin Parham currently sitting 1-2, but I think those 2 may have been the first 2 to bring it down in this last sequence of pit stops. As we do look for Justin Parham, yeah, it's hard to say. We'll find out here pretty soon on how big the gap is for Zach Stevens. As if he didn't pit, you got to think he's going to pit here pretty soon. But as it stands, yeah, he does sit 10 seconds in front of second place Justin Parham. So all these cycles are, well, just about all these cycles have already finished themselves out. And so we're getting ready to see what the battle is going to look like the rest of the way, depending on when Zach Stevens decides to bring it down, or if he's tried some strategy. We'll find out when we come back. Going to take another break. We'll go side by side to Chicago. Stick with us. now we're going to see a little four-wide action.
Crazy out of the tribal.
Oh, he gets in the lead on the record.
3 by 3 entering 4.
3
He
dude.
blocked.
At the flag stand, side by side, it's going to be Jason Maines winning it at Talladega. Back live with the Blue Ridge Auto Group 150 for the NOMA Gen 6 Series. Closing out the end of this race here at Chicagoland Speedway. Up front, still Zach Stevenson. You know, I think I may have misspoke earlier. Again, sometimes it's a little hard to keep track with the different pit strategies, but I believe Stevens may have actually already made that stop. If not, he's saving fuel, but I just don't think that's the case. I think what happened was he undercut everybody as much as he can, but just doesn't look like the strategy is going to work out. I mean, you see Kenneth Redinger, it was 10 seconds when he went to break, now down to 3, so he's closing that gap up in a hurry, and with still what's going to be 12 laps to go, and nope, I was right. I take it back. Zach Stevens is making his final stop right here, so what he was doing, which made sense, and we called this a little bit earlier, was just staying out, hoping for a caution as he got thrown towards the back of the field anyway with some of those near calls or close calls that he had going through the grass, losing all the track position, and that's really all you can do. You know, it was a valid try, and he waited till he got just about to where he lost the lead. Was hoping he'd get that caution, but he just doesn't, so he'll bring it down for his final stop. 4 in fuel. Still gonna hope for a caution, but unfortunately it's not gonna really set him up for much of any track position gain, even if he gets one at this point. Quick reminder that where we're going to head after this, just about 30 minutes, in fact, after this race ends, we'll head over to PGR Esports, the first of 4 sponsored races by FEGCustomPC.com. That's right, Jeffrey Ford is putting his bets on PGR money racing on Thursday nights. It's going to be a good one. We go to Talladega Super Speedway. We're back in the Xfinity cars. Can't wait for it. Hope to see you all there. I'm glad to see everybody that's tuning in here tonight. Again, maybe not quite the turnout in terms of drivers that we were expecting for the NOMA Gen 6 Series. We had a pretty good turnout at Daytona, but just kind of hopped off a hill. But nonetheless, I mean, the racing we've got to see has been phenomenal. So hats off to all these guys that come out each and every week and still go at it for a distance of 150 to 160-mile races that we run. Again, next week going to be a little bit longer, probably right about 160 miles at Charlotte. So excited for that one, but we got business to attend to first here tonight, and that business is to see if Kenneth Redinger can close out his 3rd win on the season. It's 10 laps to go, going to be 9 when he crosses the line. Chase Greer still sitting in 2nd. He's 4 seconds behind your leader, Clay Cantrell, back here in 3rd. Jay Stinson in 4th. Those two battling it out, though, as Jay Stinson's going to have to give way. Cantrell picks up that spot. Justin Parham back in 5th. Joey Hickox back in 6th. And so Stinson and Parham, they've got it settled. Riley King a lapper, but he's kind of in the mix here. Kind of wonder if that plays any strategy on how these two settle it out. Randy Bonomi thinking about making a move to the inside of his Truck Series teammate here, Matthew Fritz, there as well. And it's a little bit unfortunate for Joey Hickox, just strictly in the sense of the amount of speed he had towards the end of that first green flag run where we saw that green flag pit stop. And after that, he's just not really been able to find the speed since. Contrary, Kenneth Redinger, once he was able to extend that gap, for the most part, it's been in just extending it since. Chase Greer, who we talked about, is 4 seconds behind. He's maybe starting to lose a little bit to this 3rd pack, if you will. Zach Stevens, you see getting through these guys, trying to get his lap back. I don't know if he'll be able to do it. If he does, though, and we get a late caution, you can never count him out for sure. And Stinson and Cantrell, they're sitting just about 1.5 seconds behind Chase Greer, so these two might get up there, especially if they work together. You wonder how hard Jay Stinson will race the 88 right now if he saves it for maybe the last couple laps of this event. And so Clay working the middle, Jay up top trying to get any clean air that he can. Parham on the top as well. He did pit the earliest of anybody, and so all things considered, I'd call it a winning strategy here. Or a win-win. We'll call it a good strategy for Justin Parham. I mean, he's going to bring home what looks to be potentially a top 5 finish if he can hold on. Worst case scenario, maybe top 7. And so as he works his way on the outside here, Bradley King. Again, that is not for position, but just trying to hold on. He's going to have to hold off, though. Charging Joey Hickox, along with Matthew Fritz, potentially Grant Turner, if he can get back up here. And whatever the strategy play was for Grant Turner, unfortunately for him, doesn't look like it's going to work out either, as he finds himself now trying to hang on into the top 10, which he should be able to do because we've only got 8 on the lead lap. Zach Stevens in the lucky dog spot, sitting a lap down. Bradley King a lap down as well. Now Wiley Cantrell and Randy Bonomi currently both sitting 2 laps down at the moment, as we have now hit 5 laps to go. At this point, everybody says it's the longest laps that you can run all race. Kenneth Redinger is just wanting to get to 1 to go so that he sees the white flag, knows this race is official, and doesn't have to worry about a caution that could potentially change his strategy. There you see Zach Stevens closing in a hurry again. That's not for position. Stevens, I mean, it may have been earlier with the speed we saw out of Stevens, but unfortunately after getting sent through the grass a couple different times, strategy play put him further back. Again, this is just to get that lap back, which he's going to do without any issue. Kenneth Redinger not going to hold him up at all. Looks like he's on rocket boosters compared to the 24. That's the difference tires makes here at a track like Chicagoland. And so now that Zach Stevens has went by, that should just about do it for any track position that Kenneth Redinger has to worry about. In fact, you see the entirety of the field right now is all within half a track of each other. And so it should be clear sailing for Kenneth Redinger the rest of the way. Stevens will continue to sail into the sunset away from Redinger as he goes to try to track down any more position he can get. Not going to have enough time. And speaking of time, Redinger is hoping he can put down the fastest laps of the race these next 2 just to get to that white flag. This is where the nerves start to get high. The heartbeat starts to increase. You know that you have a chance of getting a race win in one of the top series in all of sim racing. The NOMA Gen 6 Series provides some of the best races you will see in these cars. And Redinger, one of the best of the best. We saw him with the Truck Series Championship. Looking to see if he can come over here and add to it with the NOMA Gen 6 Series Championship. Not sure if he's captured a Super Speedway title just yet, but if he hasn't, you got to think that would go on the bucket list if he can get it done this season here in this series. And man, a win tonight is certainly going to extend that if he can close this deal out. Her strategy was pretty consistent for him. Nothing major here. He's good to go on tire and fuel the rest of the way. And now that he has seen that white flag, he's going to take a breath and he can cruise from here. 1.5 miles to go for Kenneth Redinger, looking to capture his 3rd win of the season. SPINO Racing not quite full force here tonight. John Lynch didn't see him out here, so it was up to Justin Parham and Kenneth Redinger to try to close this deal out. Parham had speed early. Redinger, though, when he took over from the middle portions of this race, he executed on the strategy, and he's going to execute here at the end. Dominates towards the latter portion of this race, and it will be Kenneth Redinger winning it for SPINO Racing. He gets the job done at Chicago. 3rd win of the season for the 24 car, and the driver out of Reading, Pennsylvania, is on a tear again this season as he's been past seasons of the Truck Series. Chase Greer brings home 2nd. Looks like Clay Cantrell able to bring it back to a podium spot. Nice recovery for him. And before we watch your winner celebrate, let's take a look at the rest of the positions. We talked about your podium there. Clay Cantrell 3rd, Chase Greer 2nd, Kenneth Redinger winning it. But back and forth, it's Jay Stinson, Joey Hickox rounding out the top 5. Matthew Fritz in 6th. Justin Parham does slip back to 7th. Grant Turner in 8th with Zach Stevens 9th. Bradley King rounding out your top 10. Wiley Cantrell back in 11th, and Randy Bonomi rounding out your top 12. This winning moment presented by Blue Ridge Auto Group here for the NOMA Gen 6 Series. Again, 3rd win of the season, 1st driver to hit that mark. And, you know, I got to be honest, I think it probably put a little bit more fire in him when he realized that Clay Cantrell got his 2nd win last weekend, that he could potentially beat him to win number 3. Said, I don't think so. I've been here more races. I got a championship in the Truck Series. Not going to let that go by with I have something to say about it. So as he continues to celebrate, we're going to go pull your top 3 in here for interviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back at Chicago. All right, back live at Chicago. Going to start first tonight with your third place finisher, Clay Cantrell. Clay, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, a good comeback for you, man. It was a battle tonight between who was going to get that third win first. You had the speed early, but once we saw you get to the back, just couldn't quite get all the way back up there. Nonetheless, though, you do bring it back to the podium. How'd you manage to do that?
Well, won the race off pit road and finally got the lead. Clean air here is king. I mean, it's so hard to pass on the bottom. So being out front's definitely the main thing. Well, if I got the lead and I forgot to put fuel in the car, so I had to pull it back down, restarted in the back, and just blew the tires off of it the first time, just where you have to run the bottom to try to pass. And finally got a little track position, but just didn't need it to go green that whole time, and it did go green. But overall, still a fun night. Definitely enjoyed it, and I don't know, we'll take third.
Well, you were fun to watch. Certainly going to be strong through these next couple of mile and a halves that we head to. But before we let you head out tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Just Joey and Jason. Appreciate them doing this. I know they take a lot of time out of their weeks to make this happen, so appreciate them. Appreciate you for putting on a broadcast, and just happy to be here.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to us. Congrats again on the third place finish, and hopefully we'll see you back out here again next week.
Thanks, man.
All right. And now going to check in on your second place finisher here on the night for Venom Racing. It's Chase Greer. Hey, Chase, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Got you. How you doing, bud?
Good. We bring home second tonight. Maybe a little bit of strategy play in there, but overall a solid race for you. How'd you manage to set yourself up for the long run? And were you hoping we'd get a caution at some point, or was that kind of the way you shaped your strategy was around that long green flag run?
Oh, no. Long green flag run seemed to be where I was better. I think Kenneth, of course, was class of the field. I think Clay was fast, but I think maybe my strategy got me ahead of him a little bit. But overall, good race. Yeah, once we went back green with 84, I knew I couldn't make it on one, so I just sort of split those into threes, and it worked out. Unfortunately, that last one, Kenneth did at the same time as me and got in front, and he was definitely the fastest car, so glad to get home second.
Well, a good finish indeed. Not much else to go on. It was pretty calm racing. We know you're going to have a lot of strength here through the rest of the season, still fighting to see if you have a shot at maybe going for the championship here. Before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Oh, thank you for broadcasting, everybody at NOMA for putting this on. It's been great. And everybody watching, I think my mother-in-law is watching. Y'all have a good night.
Well, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on second, and we'll see you out here next week.
All right, later, bud.
All right, and that'll bring us now to your winner on the night for SPINO Racing. Again, not quite at full strength, yet they still found a way into victory lane. Kenneth Redinger, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you tack on your third win of the season. You got to think that's going to help you stretch out that championship lead for now. But tonight we had an early caution. After that, though, it was all about green flag racing. How were you able to break away from the rest of the field, and how'd you shape your strategy around that afterwards?
Oh yeah, it's a lot of it came from I got my I had some brake issues I had to solve, so I fixed that, and it seemed like once I was able to gap them on pit road there, it was pretty much smooth sailing. I could keep running the same lap times as they were with I noticed they were a couple cars, like 3 cars in a line there, so they're getting some draft, but I was able to just match lap times and not lose anything or give anything back to them, and eventually their stuff would give up too, so it would level off.
Yeah, matching lap times until you eventually started to pull away 4 seconds, almost 5, the gap towards the end of the race. But great run for you tonight. Good run for the team to bring home that win. And Justin Parham back in 7th as well. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Just shout out to Jay and Joey for putting this on and giving us something to do while we're on the off season for the trucks and Super Speedway.
All right, and thank you for talking to us. Congrats again on the win. Go celebrate. You won it at Chicago, and we'll see you out here next week.
Awesome. All right, see you. Thank you.
All right, and that is just about going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. It was a good one. Again, small field, but a lot of green flag racing. That's what we like to see. We will be back same time, different place. Well, I guess I should say same place here broadcasting-wise, but we'll be at Charlotte Motor Speedway next week. That should be a good one as we start to, again, close in on the end of the Gen 6 inaugural season. Thank you all so much for coming out. It has been a fun one. I hope everybody enjoyed. That'll do it for me, Austin Green, here on Ghost Racing Network.